Hello everyone, I welcome you for this one more session on 1D bar. In this particular session, we will be solving one of the typical problem which will be most likely asked in the exams. These are the tapered bar. Okay, so we will be solving this tapered bar problem using FEM method. Okay, so in this particular problem, we have this a part of a bar which is tapered in its cross section. So the maximum width is 600 and the minimum is 300, and at the center the load is being applied 100 Newton, so which is 120 from its origin. Okay, so if you see, if you just study the problem definition here, it is a plate. Okay, it is a plate of uniform thickness which is given. This thickness part is 1 mm. This thickness part is 1 mm. Okay, and its Young's modulus is given as 200 GPa. So one more parameter they have been given here, that is called as a weight density of the plate is 76.6 into 10 to the power minus 6 Newton per mm cube, which means that the body is subjected to its own weight. Whenever a weight density is given, it is nothing but the body force which is being given on the particular object. Okay, so we need to study what is the effect of body force which is acting on this particular body, as well as a point load is being given. So you have two types of forces here. One is called as the body force, which is Newton per mm cube, which is in the form of, that is, load acting over the volume, and in addition to that a point load is being given. So we need to solve it by using a FEM method. So here we will encounter one problem, which is that we cannot use directly a 1D bar element. So whenever we are using a 1D bar element, the assumptions which we are taking is that the area of cross section is constant throughout its length. Okay, the assumptions whenever we are using a 1D bar is we are assuming the area to be constant throughout its length. Then only I can use this particular element, otherwise I cannot use this particular element to solve the problem. So in order to use this, okay, in order to use this element and solve, we need to convert this tapered bar into a what we call it as a similar stepped bar. Okay, so unless we cannot if we cannot convert this into a uniform section, we cannot solve this particular problem. So this is an approximate solution which will be done by the FEM if I want to use a 1D bar element. Otherwise, in the computer you have the provision to solve the tapered bar by using 2D element, but whenever we are using a 1D bar element, we don't have the provision to solve this tapered bar directly, because whenever we are studying a 1D bar, because in a 1D bar we are interested to find out the displacement only in one direction. In that case only, what we did is we took the area. So if I have a bar like this, okay, a bar like this, so we took the area to be constant, the area is not changing. Okay, only the length part is changing. For that case, we derived that stiffness matrix. On the basis of that particular case, we derived the value of stiffness matrix. But when I go for the tapered bar, if you visualize it, at every instant of x-axis, the cross sectional area is go on changing. It is not same as the previous one. Okay, for that case, we have to convert this particular body into a similar object. Okay, similar stepped bar object. For that case, I will be just modeling it. So why we need to go for a stepped bar is, so if you see here, you have a point load at the center. Okay, you have a point load at the center. So already I told you the load has to be applied on the nodes only. You cannot apply directly on the element. For that case, I will be making it into two sections. So I will be trying to convert this into a stepped bar. See here, this answer might not be 100% correct because it is a tapered bar here and it is a stepped bar here, but we cannot solve it by using 1D element, the tapered bar. For that case we are converting it. Okay, so what we are doing is the length remains same here 120, here also 120. Okay, so when I convert this into this, I don't know the value of the width value, that is W1, because it is a tapered bar. I am compressing it to make a regular rectangle. Okay, it is like a trapezium, so I am converting this trapezium into a rectangle. I don't know what will be the width. I have to calculate that particular width. So one more will be this. This will be W2. Okay, this will be W2. So when you try to find out this, what we are trying to do is we are comparing the volume. Okay, we are comparing the volume of this rectangle to this part where 120 is there, and we are comparing this rectangle to this part which is having this particular section, that is W2. So we will be solving that. We will be first trying to find out what are the values of W1 and W2, then we will be trying to get the value of the loads and as well as the displacements. Okay, so first we will start with this. I hope you have taken down the problem definition. So okay, so first I'll try to see what is the conversion for this. So first I'll draw this. This is the first part here. Okay, this is the first part. So this is 60 mm. Okay, I don't know what is the value of this. So it is directly proportional. So what will be the width of this? 60 plus 30 divided by 2 will be the width of this particular value. Okay, that is 60 plus 30. From your basic mathematics equations, you can easily find out what is the width of this. Okay, what is the width of this? Directly you can find out. So this is 60 plus 30 divided by 2, which is 45 mm. So one side you have 60 mm, one side you have 45 mm, and the length is 120 mm. So now I have to convert this into this particular section. So I will be taking a similar part. Okay, so I know the length, so which is 120 mm. I don't know what is the value of this W1. So what I'll do is I'll equate. See, whenever it is a trapezium converting into a rectangle, the volume remains the same. I am not changing, I am not adding any volume, or I am not trying to remove any volume, any material out of it. I'll just try to compress it to make a regular shape rectangle. For that case, volume of trapezium should be equal to volume of rectangle. Okay, so what is the volume of trapezium? So volume of trapezium is basically given as half into these two sides. Okay, half into this and addition of this and this side. So that is 60 plus 45 into 120. Okay, so this will be area of that into, if I multiply the thickness, which is 1 mm, will be the volume of this particular section. So it is half into 60 plus 45, these two parallel sides, 60 plus 25 into the length side. Okay, into 1, if I do it, that will be the volume of this particular trapezium, should be equal to the volume of rectangle. So that is length into width into thickness. So W1 into 120 into 1 thickness. Okay, so when you do this, what you will get? this 120 gets cancelled. 60 plus 45 will be 105, divided by 2 will be 52.5. So W1 will be 52.5. Okay, that will be mm. So this will be 52.5 mm. Okay, 52.5 mm. Okay, I hope it is clear here. So next we will be trying to find out this equivalent width. Okay, this equivalent width. So I'll just rub out here only. So I'll take this as a base. Okay, so this is on the other side, this will be 45 and this is 30. Okay, so equivalent mass equivalent width I want, so that will be W2. Okay, same thing happens, that is volume of trapezium should be equal to volume of a rectangle. So that is half into 45 plus 30 into 120 should be equal to W2 into 120 into 1. So this is also 1. So then what happens, this gets cancelled. 45 plus 30 will be 75. Okay, so 75 divided by 2 will be might be 37.5 mm. 37.5 mm. So now you got these two values, that is W1 is 52.5 mm, W2 is 37.5 mm. Okay, so this is the now the required width of these rectangles to match up the volume of the trapezium. Okay, so then we using this as a base will try to solve the problem. Okay, so we'll solve this. So I hope you have taken down this. So now once again I'll draw that figure which is of equivalent rectangle. That is, first I'll do okay. So now this is, now we need to solve for this particular shape. Okay, so you know the reason why we are doing this, because you can't solve a tapered bar problem using a 1D bar element. Okay, for that case we are converting it. So these are of two lengths, 120 mm, 120 mm. The width of this is 52.5 mm and the width of this is 37.5 mm. Okay, so when you see here at this particular point there is a load acting which is of 100 Newton, as well as there will be a body force which is acting here. Okay, this is the body force which will be acting, which is given as rho is equal to 76.6 into 10 to the power minus 6 Newton per mm cube. Okay, so this is the data which now we have converted the tapered bar into a stepped bar. Okay. So now we'll start with the our FEA solution. So till now we have just converted the tapered bar volume into a rectangle bar. Okay, so now we'll actually start with the FEA model. Okay, so we'll start with the first FEA model. So I will be taking 2 element 3 nodes. Okay, 2 element 3 nodes. So this is the first node, first node, second, and this is third node. This is first element, this is second element. Okay, so what are the possible displacements you will get? You will get U1 here, you will get U2 here, you will get U3 here. Okay, so U1, U2 and U3. So what is the boundary conditions you have? You have force of 100 Newton, which is a point load, and then there is a body force which is acting over the length of or over the volume of 76.6 into 10 to the power minus 6 Newton per mm cube. Okay, so they have given the Young's modulus as 200 gigapascal. So where it is made up of same material, it is E1 is equal to E2. We'll convert 200 gigapascal into megapascal into 2 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per mm square. Okay, Newton per mm square. So now we have done the FEA model. So now we'll calculate the value of stiffness matrix. So second step is elemental stiffness matrix. Elemental stiffness matrix. So basically for a bar element is given as K, I'll directly take K1. K1 is equal to A1 E1 divided by L1 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. Okay. So it is made up of same material, E will be common to both. Then we calculate about the area. So here remember that wherever you are calculating the stiffness value, the area will be always a cross sectional area. Okay, so it will be a cross sectional area, whatever the cross sectional area is there. So this, okay, so this will be that cross sectional area. Like this will be the cross sectional area. You have to calculate this. This will be the cross sectional area and this will be the cross sectional area for that. Okay, so cross sectional area, whenever we are calculating, what will be the cross sectional area? It will be width into thickness. Remember that. So you cannot take length into width here. We are not taking this section, we are taking this section because the load is acting along x-axis. So that will be first element will be having a width of 52.5 into 1, thickness is 1 mm, into 2 into 10 to the power 5 divided by 120, 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. So you have this value. So if I take 10 raised to 5 outside, I might get the value as 0.875. Okay, so this is 0.875 minus 0.875 minus 0.875 and this is 0.875. Okay, so you have to do the node numbering for this. So this will be first node, this will be second, this will be first and this will be second. So you have calculated the first elemental stiffness matrix. Similarly you have to calculate the second elemental stiffness matrix. I'll rub this. Okay, that will be K2. So K2 is equal to A2 E2 upon L2 into 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. So this is the equation. So area of the second element. So the width of the second element was 37.5 into thickness you have to do. So that is 37.5 into 1 into 2 into 10 to the power 5. Material is same. The length is 120. 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. So when you do this, when you solve this, you will get the calculation for this particular or the stiffness matrix for this particular element. Okay, so you will be getting it as 0.625. So 10 raised to 5 if I take outside, it becomes 0.625 minus 0.625 minus 0.625 0.625. Okay, so this will be second element, third element, second node, third node, second node and third node. So that is the for the second elements, what are the nodes are related. So next we have to to the global stiffness matrix. So I'll just write here only. The third part is global stiffness matrix. The global stiffness matrix. So that will be K is equal to K1 plus K2. So as you see, it is having 3 nodes. Okay, the problem is having 3 nodes, so you'll be getting 3 cross 3 matrix. Okay, so I'll be just writing first row, second row, third row, first column, second column, third column. Okay, so this is how we have to write it. So we have to compare K1 and K2 to fill this particular global stiffness matrix. So first row, first column, it is 0.875. Next is first row, second column, it is minus 0.875. First row, third column, here it is not there. If you see here also first row is not there, so this becomes 0. So seeing the symmetric, first row, second column and second row, first column will always be same, 0.875. So next comes second row, second column. Second row, second column, here we have minus 0.875. Here we have okay, second row, second column, you have plus 0.625. You have to add both the values because second row, second column, here also 0.875. Second row, second column, you have 0.625. So you have to add them. So you will be getting it as 1.5. 1.5. Okay. So next is second row, third column. Here you don't have. If you come here, second row, third column is minus 0.625. Okay, minus 0.625. Next, what we'll do is we'll do the symmetricity. First row, third column will be equal to third row, first column, which will be 0. First, second row, third column will be equal to third row, second column minus 0.625. So finally, you have to write the value of third row, third column. This is 0.625. 0.625. So this is the global stiffness matrix for this particular problem. So after writing the global stiffness matrix, we will be going ahead with the global nodal displacement and as well as global force vector. Okay, so we'll do that calculation. Okay, so here only we'll write global nodal displacement. Okay, global nodal displacement, we will be writing that. So what are the displacements which are possible for this particular problem? So I will be naming as a u here, so which will be u1, u2 and u3. So these are the 3 displacements which are possible for this particular problem. Next, we will be going for the global force vector. Global force vector. So now you have to understand, this is an important thing you need to understand here. The thing is, there are 2 types of loads for this particular problem. One is because of weight density, okay, there is a load acting, and as well as because of the point load. So because of the load density, that the load density means that it is a body force which is acting throughout the volume, which means it will be acting throughout the whole length. Okay, but in FEM, what is the problem? We cannot give the load over the length or over the area. Okay, you have to give the load on a particular node only. Okay, so all the 3 nodes will be experiencing this type of a body force. So but how to represent it as a point load? So we have already done the conversion or the derivation for body force vector. In the previous sessions we have calculated that. So if I have an element, just I am talking about an element which is having 1 node and 2 node, which is subjected to a body force, the equivalent point load, what it will be? It will be Fa Le by 2. It will be Fa Le by 2. This is the equivalent load which will be acting. You can name it like this, which will be acting on a particular node. Okay, so the same thing will be following here. So here F is the body force, F is the body force, A is the cross sectional area, L is the length of the element. So F is basically a body force which is given by the unit Newton per meter cube or Newton per mm cube. So if you see what is the unit of a weight density, they have already given it as a Newton per mm cube. It is nothing but the value of F here. So which is 76.6 into 10 to the power minus 6 Newton per mm cube. So I have to calculate that equivalent point load. So what I'll do is I'll take F here, which will be given as if you just go through the previous notes or previous videos, you can see how we have written the body force, that is Fa Le by 2 and Fa Le by 2. Okay, Fa Le by 2 and Fa Le by 2 will be the body force, or we used to write it in this way also, Fa Le by 2 1 1. Both are same, we can write in this fashion also. So 1 1 means it is the load acting on the first node and this is the load acting on the second node. So if you calculate this, so it is 76.6 into 10 to the power what is the value, is it minus 6 only, yeah, minus 6. Okay, as we are talking about the load equivalent for the first element, you have to calculate the area of that element. So that element area is width into thickness, that is 52.5 into 120 divided by 2, and this will be 1 1. Okay, so what you will be getting? So you will be getting this value as 0.241. So F will be 0.241, and the nodes which are related are 1 and 2. Okay. Now you have calculated for first element. The similarly you have to calculate it for the second element. So if you see here, second element, if I am talking about the second element, so if you see here, this is the element, second element. So the nodes are 2 and 3, 2 and 3. So same thing you have to calculate here. F is equal to Fa Le by 2 1 1. So this is 2 and 3. So when you solve this, it will be 76.6 into 10 to the power minus 6 into 37.5 into 120 divided by 2, and the nodes are 1, 2 and 3. So you will be getting the value as I will be just writing here, you will be getting the value as 0.1723. So we will be getting it as 0.1723. The nodes which are related are 2 and 3. Okay, 2 and 3. So now you have to write the total load vector for only the body force, because what is happening here is, see here, this is 0.241 which is acting on node 1. So when you are seeing for the node 2, it is 0.241 here and as well as 0.1723 here. So you have to add them and you have to make a 1, 2, 3 load which is acting. So we will be doing that. So just rub here. So it is total body force, total body force is what we call it as F, if I call it. So it is 0.241, then 0.241 plus 0.1723, then it is 0.1723. So the loads are the nodes are 1, 2 and 3. So this is the total body force. So now we will be writing the total load vector, okay, or global load vector, because what is happening here is this particular object is being subjected to two types of loading. One is body force and one more is the point load. So we have to include the point load for this. So global load vector, global load vector is given as F. If I am talking, it is total body force plus point load, okay. So now we will be writing that. So what you have got here, the total body force is 0.241 plus 0.1723 0.1723. So this is 1 plus the point load. If you see the point load, it is acting on the node 2, okay, it is acting on a node 2. So F1 will be 0, F2 will be 100 Newton, F3 will be 0, okay. So this is the total. You have to add them and you have to write the final load vector, which is so it is 0.241, okay. So final, I'll just see here, it is 100.413 and this will be 0.1723 and this will be Newton, okay. So this is how we, if 2 or 3 loads have been given, so you have to solve them separately and do the node numbering for them, and then you can easily add them at the final load condition, okay. So now we will write the equilibrium equation. This will be the fourth part, which we call it as equilibrium equation, where we will be writing K into U is equal to F, okay. So what is the K here? K, I will be writing the global stiffness matrix 10 raised to 5. This will be 0.875 minus 0.875, this is 0, this is minus 0.875, this is 1.5, this is minus 0.625, so this is 0, this is minus 0.625 and this is 0.625. So this is first, second, third, so first, second, third. So this is the global stiffness matrix. So I have to multiply now displacement U1, U2, U3. Next I have to write the force vector. So that is 0.241, 100.413 and 0.1723. This will be Newton, okay. So now we will be applying the boundary condition. So here we will be using elimination approach. So for, as they have not asked any specific method to apply the boundary conditions, we will be applying the elimination boundary conditions. So fifth is applying the boundary conditions. Applying the boundary conditions, we will go for elimination approach. So elimination approach. So when you go for an elimination approach, I have told you how to do it. So when you see the tapered bar problem, node 1 is fixed, which means that it is been fixed to one end, which is having, that is particular node is node 1. So as node 1 is fixed, as node 1 is fixed, okay, so u1 will be equal to 0. u1 will be equal to 0. So u1 will be equal to 0 means I will be just eliminating the first row and the first column. The first row and the first column I will be eliminating, so that only one boundary condition is being given, that is the displacement boundary conditions. So I have two unknowns, I will be getting two equations to solve the problem. So it will be 10 raised to 5 1.5 u2 and minus 0.625 u3 should be equal to 100.413 Newton. This is one equation. Next is 10 raised to 5. This is minus 0.625 u2 plus 0.625 u3 should be equal to 0.1723 Newton. So these are the two equations and you have two unknowns. You can easily solve the values of u2 and u3. So if you solve the values of u2 and u3 here, so you will be getting u2 as 1.149 into 10 to the power minus 3 mm, okay, and u3 as 1.152 into 10 to the power minus 3 mm. Okay, so this is how we will be finding out the displacement of the two, that is node 2 and node 3, that is the nodal displacements, we have got it. But from the problem definitions you also have to find out the stresses in each element. So we will be doing that. So stresses in each element, that is sigma 1, I will take sigma 1, okay, E into B into U, it is E by LE minus 1 U1 U2. So we will be doing for the first element. So this is 2 into 10 to the power 5 divided by 120, okay, into minus 1 u1 is 0, u2 is 1.149 into 10 to the power minus 3. So you will be getting, when you solve this, you will be getting the value as 1.915 megapascal. So this will be sigma 1. This is for the first element. So we will do for the second element. So that will be sigma 2, that is E by LE minus 1. So the elements which are the nodes which are related to the second elements are u2 and u3. Okay, so we have to write like this. So here it is 2 into 10 to the power 5 divided by 120 minus 1. So it will be u2 is 1.149 into 10 to the power minus 3 and 1.152 into 10 to the power minus 3. When you see this, so here you will be getting the stress value as 0.005 megapascal. So this will be the value of sigma 2. Okay, so this will be the value of sigma 2. So lastly we have to find out the support reaction. Okay, so same thing, we will be applying the support reactions. So we will be calculating the support reaction. So basically which is called as R is equal to, when you go for the elimination approach, R is equal to K into u minus f. Okay, so it is 10 raised to 5, so 0.875 minus 0.875, this will be 0, this will be minus 0.875, this will be 1.5, this will be 0.625, this will be minus. Okay, so then it will be 0, this will be minus 0.625 and this will be 0.625. So this is the value of k. Then next we will write the value of u. U will be u1, u2, u3. So u1 is 0, u2 is 1.149 into 10 to the power minus 3, u3 is 1.152 into 10 to the power minus 3. Okay, then minus the load vector we have to write, that is 0.241, 100.413 and 0.172. These are the loading vectors. When you solve this, so you will be getting the support reaction. So you will be getting only R1. If you can directly, if you know where the support reactions will act, because one end is fixed, there only the support reaction will be there. So you can just solve only R1 and you will be getting the solution for this. So I will be writing generally R1, R2 and R3. So you will be getting it as minus 100.56800. This will be Newton. Okay, so like this we have to calculate the nodal displacements, stresses in each element as well as the reaction solution. So you have to thoroughly go through this problem, because here two types of conversions are being given. One is how to convert the tapered bar into a stepped bar, and one more is how to convert a body force into a calculative load vector. Okay, I hope this is clear for you. Thank you.